When I first laid eyes on Craig's photograph, the first thing I thought was, oh, there it is, definitive proof. Deer exist, and so do their butts. But it turns out there was something more interesting in the background.
Across 9 disturbing encounters from deep forests and remote wilderness, silence is repeatedly broken by something unknown. Witnesses report massive footsteps, shadowy figures between trees, and glowing eyes in the dark that seem to watch and follow. Trail cameras and first-hand accounts capture brief, unsettling glimpses of unidentifiable beings moving just out of sight. From Bigfoot-like creatures to unexplained silhouettes, each story blurs fear and reality, leaving one haunting question: what's hidden wilderness? Let's explore. In a recording from Small Town Monsters, a woman recounts an experience from when she was 11 years old. She describes how, while riding a four-wheeler with a companion through a mountain area she knew well, they followed a familiar route until reaching a three-way fork and took the middle path as it gently sloped downward. At first, everything felt normal, but as they continued, she began to notice a subtle, uneasy shift in the atmosphere that she couldn't quite explain.
One day, and I don't recall the season, I don't recall like the time, like the month or anything like that. I think that I was 11 years old. Yeah, so we started driving up the mountain and came to a point, an intersection that splits into 3 directions. And this is a place that we're familiar with. Like this is, you know, we've been up here plenty of times and we walk it or four-wheel it. We still walk it to this day. So we went into the middle of this fork.
Without any clear reason, she slowed down and then came to a stop. Her attention suddenly drew to 2 figures standing off to the left side of the embankment. As they descended the familiar mountain path, everything felt routine, until it didn't. Coming around the slope, the ride brought them suddenly within 10 to 12 feet of 2 figures standing completely still off to the side. She instinctively read them as a mother and child, one tall, grounded, and unmoving, the other smaller and close beside her.
We drove up and I stopped because there were 2 of them to our left on the side of the bank. And in that moment, like I always felt like it was a mom and a kid. There was one that was a lot larger and one that was probably 5'7", 5'6", and the other one was a lot bigger than it.
The taller figure had thick, dark hair with a tone caught between black and brown, something indistinct yet memorable. The face itself never fully registered in her memory, but she still refers to the figure as her, describing an immediate, almost instinctive impression of something protective, almost maternal in presence.
A lot of hair, dark hair, not black, but not brown, like a mixture in between that. I don't remember the face, but I know that, and I keep referring to it as a her because it felt very motherly, like in the ways that like protective of looking back is something like I would do now as a mom. And, you know, as soon as like seeing us.
What lingered most was the unnatural stillness, how, even at such close range, neither figure reacted at all to their approach or the sound of the vehicle. Then, in what felt like a single shift, the taller figure turned, and the stillness shattered. Both figures suddenly broke into a run along the edge of the steep embankment, moving with surprising speed.
It as a her because it felt very motherly, like in the ways that like protective of looking back is something like I would do now as a mom. And, you know, as soon as like seeing us going down, but what I don't understand is why she didn't hear us. You know, like, because we were in close proximity.
The smaller one stayed close at the side of the taller figure, never once looking back as they followed the drop beside the road. The terrain fell away sharply into the mountainside, uneven and unforgiving, making their movement feel even more abrupt and unnatural. Within seconds, they disappeared down the slope, and she and her companion immediately turned the vehicle around and left the area. Another terrifying clip straight out of a Travel Channel moment shows it standing there in eerie stillness before suddenly crouching down. Its movements grow slow, then disturbingly focused, as faint rustling breaks the silence. Inside the car, the girls go completely still in fear, holding their breath as they realize what's happening right beside them. Seconds later, it clicks. It isn't wandering, it's trying to open the trunk. The unlocked door turns everything into a silent, chilling opportunity unfolding in real time.
It crouched down. And you could just hear it fiddling with something. And then it dawned on me, it's trying to figure out the trunk. And I guess that's when it dawned on me. Your car door's unlocked, stupid. I mean, I locked my boyfriend's, but I forgot to lock my own.
They decided they had to lock the car, fear building as they realized how loud the locking system would be. She hesitated for a second, worried it might hear them. The moment she pressed it down, everything outside went still, like it had noticed. Then, without warning, it came back, pulling hard at the door, trying to force it open while she held it shut with all her strength, panic taking over in the silent darkness around them, breath shaking and hearts racing uncontrollably.
And that's when I made the decision I was going to have to lock it. I was scared because I knew it's loud when it engages in the locking system. And I remember thinking, please don't hear it. It was back there fiddling, and as soon as I pushed it down, it stopped. And I knew it was listening.
Everything had gone dead quiet, and she needed to know where it was. Slowly, she reached out and wiped a small patch of steam from the window, just enough to see outside. It was a mistake she would instantly regret. On the other side were two huge glowing yellow burning eyes staring directly at her.
I saw what was on the other side, and it was these two huge yellow ember eyes staring back at me. And I froze. It was like every story that my dad had ever told me that monsters weren't real was a lie, because I didn't know what this was. I'll never forget those eyes.
In that instant, she froze completely, unable to move, trapped in the terrifying stillness of that stare. Following a clip from Animal Planet. In the remote forests of northern Michigan, hunting guide Craig Salk uses trail cameras across his property to track local wildlife movement. One camera recently captured an unusual figure moving silently between the trees. The image shows a dark uniform shape with no clear features, making identification difficult. It may be a fully camouflaged hunter or something more unknown. Recorded near the Upper Peninsula, Wisconsin border region, the sighting adds to a growing pattern of unexplained forest activity in the area. At first glance, Craig's photograph seems completely ordinary, just a routine wildlife capture. But when the three images are examined one after another, something subtle stands out.
Well, I'm interested in looking into this photograph we got from this guy, Craig Salk. I think something's in there, and this will be another part of the UP that may have more than one, may have a few families of squatches.
The photographs are pretty interesting. A little blob squatchy, but there is clearly something there. Out of the three photographs, taken less than 2 minutes apart from one another, in that middle photograph, that large figure is there, but not in the other two. That means something moved in and moved out of frame in those three photographs. The middle photograph is the key. That's the one that might hold the Sasquatch. When I first laid eyes on Craig's photograph, the first thing I thought was, oh, there it is, definitive proof. Deer exist, and so do their butts. But it turns out there was something more interesting in the background.
Only the second frame reveals a faint, indistinct figure in the background, absent from the others. Its shape is unclear and difficult to define, neither fully human nor easily identified as anything else. That brief, isolated appearance changes the entire interpretation of the scene, leaving open the question of what was actually caught in that moment. To investigate further, Bobo was brought to the exact location and positioned within a few feet.
Matt.
Matt?
I'm just happy that he was open-minded enough to get in touch with us and send us the photos so we could come check it out.
This here's the tree that the camera is on.
And which direction was the camera facing?
It's facing to the north, right through here.
So that's the stump that the deer was smelling?
Yes.
Why was it smelling the stump?
We put minerals out for the deer for, it's better for antler growth, and it's supposed to help the does with their milk production and stuff like that. So we put that out all over the property. We have 10 cameras out usually all year on the 80 acres, and we look at around 20,000 pictures. And in the sequence of the 3 pictures, the middle picture, I just can't explain what is in it.
Of where the figure was originally captured, allowing for a direct photographic comparison. Images taken on site were meant to confirm whether the shape could reasonably be attributed to a person. However, the results raised fresh uncertainty. The proportions did not fully align, especially in the breadth of the shoulders and overall silhouette.
But what we want to do now is take a photo with Bobo at the same location as the figure, so we can compare the 2 images and rule out that this couldn't be a person. Does that look good to you, Craig?
Good.
So what we have here is basically you standing more or less in the same position within a few feet, maybe 5 feet.
Well, what stands out right away is look how much broader your shoulders are to the original figure.
Yeah. The fact that it's his size or smaller, though, doesn't eliminate the chance that it's a Sasquatch, because they're also that size as well. They grow from being very small to growing up. I think if it had been a person, I think you'd see a difference in the amount of reflectivity or darkness between the top and the bottom there, and you don't. It's as if it's all covered with the same color fur.
The original figure still appeared unusually uniform in tone and form, keeping its identity open to interpretation. So what do you think? Was this simply a person concealed in natural forest gear passing through the woods? Or something far more unexplainable hiding in plain sight? In a world buried beneath an endless veil of snow, silence ruled like a forgotten king. The sky hung low, pale and weightless, as if the heavens themselves had frozen in hesitation. No sound dared disturb the vast white expanse. At its center stood a figure, dark, unmoving, carved from shadow itself. It did not shiver, did not shift. It simply waited, as though time belonged to it alone. The wind had died hours ago, leaving behind a stillness that felt almost alive. Somewhere beyond the horizon, something stirred within the blinding white, unseen but certain. The figure remained patient, sensing it. The calm was not peace, it was anticipation, sharpened like ice, holding its breath for what was coming. In the pale daylight, the world felt strangely emptied of life, as though nature itself had stepped away without warning. No birds crossed the sky, no rustling broke the silence, and even the air seemed suspended in uneasy stillness. The viewer's gaze was pulled instinctively toward the dense bushes ahead, where shadows pooled unnaturally deep beneath the branches. Behind them, a dark silhouette stood partially concealed, its form barely distinguishable from the surrounding gloom. Its arms hung low beneath its frame, motionless, giving it an unsettling, lifeless presence. There was no movement, no sound, only the faint suggestion that it was aware of being watched. The scene carried quiet tension, as if something unspoken waiting to unfold in a frozen moment. Mo Sagi ventured deep into the wilderness when the atmosphere suddenly changed. Strange sounds echoed from every direction, putting the entire group on edge. One member was convinced something was nearby, watching from the darkness. Then came a series of massive, ground-shaking footsteps that stopped everyone in their tracks. The sound was far too heavy to ignore. As the forest fell silent, a chilling question lingered in the air. Were they hearing an ordinary creature, or had they just encountered the legendary Bigfoot?
Bro, that was heavy. Those were some heavy footsteps. is that? I think we're in a lot of danger right now.
Yeah, I think we're like in the middle of the place. Sounds like that tree's about to fall, bro.
Dude, we need to just head in that way. For our safety, we actually have to head in that way.
Yo, whatever that was.
Guys, I kid you not, you can hear dogs barking. Whatever it was big. It startled it. Dude, I saw it. I swear to God, I saw it.
The silence shattered as dogs began barking wildly into the darkness. Then, something moved. Whatever it was enormous. The sudden commotion seemed to startle the mysterious figure, triggering a brief but unforgettable glimpse. One witness immediately shouted that they had seen it, convinced it was unlike anything they had encountered before. Hidden in the shadows and gone in an instant, the massive presence left everyone stunned, wondering what kind of creature could be big enough to vanish into the night without a trace.
Bro. Oh,
You see it?
Just go. I can't see it. What just happened again? Danny's trying to do his little intro right now. Just now, we heard something in the bushes. We ran again. We've actually been running for quite some time. I kid you not, you guys, all day long we were here today. Nothing at all. No noises, not even a hint, not even a deer. Hello?
A sudden burst of light revealed a massive pale figure in the distance, its outline briefly resembling an enormous white bear. The entire scene went still as disbelief set in, struggling to comprehend what they were seeing. Panic followed as they reached for makeshift weapons, gripping sticks while the slippery terrain made movement difficult. The presence remained unclear, never fully exposing itself, only enough to confirm something unusually large was there. Moments later, it vanished without a trace into the darkness, leaving behind a tense silence and one unsettling question. What had they just witnessed?
Get a stick, bro. I'm serious. Get a weapon. I can't run because it's so slippery. I don't know if that was a bear. Ugh. There you go. Dude, I got a big stick. What the was that? Okay, yo, you saw that too, right?
No, I saw that. I don't know if I caught it on camera.
One of them signaled forward, convinced something large was nearby, while another discovered enormous footprints scattered across the ground. Tension rose quickly, but closer inspection suggested the marks were not recent. Even so, the atmosphere turned heavier with every passing second as an uneasy feeling spread among them, like something unknown was still present, quietly moving just out of sight in the surrounding shadows.
Freaking ate the ice.
You slipped on ice?
Yeah.
We've been finding fresh, look at that, fresh wolf paws right here.
And baby ones.
And we've been hearing them everywhere. And there's baby ones. And we've been hearing them everywhere.
So you've been kind of following this out, man.
Bro, I don't know what the we've seen today.
The whole animal kingdom is out to play today.
Let's get trying to find our way out of here. We're kind of lost a little bit. Huh?
These are really fresh.
Those are all fresh paws. Those are all wolf paws right there. They're massive paws. Look,
They're sniffing out our footprints.
look at that.
A tree was found violently flipped, clearly not a natural fall. Earlier strange rubbing sounds in the forest now seemed connected to it. The sheer force behind the damage suggested something extremely powerful nearby, making it clear that staying any longer was unsafe. Josh, host of the podcast Flash of Beauty Bigfoot Revealed, was born and raised in the Ozarks and has spent his entire life in this unique region. Often overlooked, the Ozarks hold a deep and ancient history, older than the Appalachians, and are known for their quiet beauty and unusual, sometimes unexplainable stories. Over the years, Josh has witnessed enough strange moments to feel that there's something undeniably special about the place he calls home. Growing up in the 1980s, his only understanding of Bigfoot wasn't rooted in legend or mystery, but in the image of a popular pop culture figure. He remembers standing by the sliding glass doors of his father's rural home, the surrounding landscape quiet, open, and still.
So all I knew about Bigfoot growing up, when you did like me, I was born in '79, and as a kid in the '80s, Bigfoot meant a monster truck. That's all I knew. And I remember the first time that Bigfoot, the actual Bigfoot, came up is we were supposed to go to my grandpa's house and watch a show about Bigfoot. And I thought it was literally the monster truck. And I get there and it was the Legend of Boggy Creek, and it absolutely freaked me out because I had no idea what this thing was. So that was my introduction to Bigfoot. But fast forward about a year later, I was 14 years old. My dad had bought a piece of land and built a house, and they had left me at home.
In that silence, his attention was drawn to a dark figure in the distance, roughly 50 to 60 yards away. At first, he assumed it might be a person and remained motionless, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. But as it began to move toward the house, that assumption quickly fell apart. Its movement was unsettling, smooth, and unnatural, as if it were gliding rather than walking, closing the distance toward the back deck with an eerie steadiness. Broad and entirely black, it seemed to absorb the light around it. When it came close enough for its features to register, their eyes met, and he was left completely frozen, overwhelmed by an instinctive fear he couldn't process or escape.
Came up to the back deck of the house, and what's strange about that is it glided up. It didn't just walk. There was no gate. It was like it glided up. Biggest thing I'd ever seen, just broad, massive black thing standing in front of me. And I locked eyes with this thing, and I froze. Didn't know what to do. I'm standing there. But the thing that sticks out to me about this thing is there was just pure hate emanating from this thing. Like, I knew it hated me. That's one of the things I remember. But as I'm standing there, this thought drops in my mind to go get my dad's shotgun. And so it was a 410 shotgun. It was upstairs.
While living above a coffee shop in a spacious loft apartment, he began to notice something unsettling in an otherwise familiar space. The building, dating back to the 1950s, featured 3 towering windows that had always been completely clear. He had never once seen a mark or handprint on them. But about a week before a strange encounter, he was sitting inside watching television when something behind the screen pulled his attention. On the outside of the glass, an unusually large handprint appeared, pressed firmly against the window. Its size and placement were wrong in a way he couldn't ignore, leaving him with a quiet but immediate sense that something wasn't right.
So another weird thing that happened is I live above a coffee shop, a really cool studio spot. It's a big loft apartment, 3 huge windows, and the building was probably built in the 50s, and so it's really tall, and the windows are really tall, and they're big windows. And I spent a lot of time in there, and there's never been a handprint on the window. There's never been anything like that. But about a week prior to this, I'm sitting there watching TV, and the window's back behind my TV, and I look, and there's an abnormally large handprint plastered on the outside of that window.
In the forest, a witness recounts a moment that still feels unsettlingly vivid. An encounter with a massive, unfamiliar figure glimpsed in an instant of shock. It appeared briefly between the trees at what he estimates was only a few dozen feet away, close enough for every detail to feel overwhelming. He admits that fear may have distorted his sense of reality, yet the memory hasn't faded.
Guess I saw Sasquatch.
Now, the mind plays tricks on you, especially in a moment of complete fear. But I really believe this kid saw something.
If you pointed out here, how close would you say it was when you first saw it?
Probably 20, 25 feet, probably to that tree right there.
I'm kind of interested, though, to see how big this was. I'm going to go stand over in between those 2 trees for size comparison. You tell me when to stop when you think about how close it was to you.
Okay.
And I'll stop, and then you can kind of say how big you think it was compared to me.
Okay.
To test his perception, an investigator recreates the scene, positioning himself between 2 trees about 30 feet apart and using a raised stick as a height marker. Asked to compare, the witness gestures upward, indicating something far above human scale.
You know, we're about 30 feet apart right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to raise this stick up, and you tell me when you think the top of the stick is at where the top of its head was.
Okay. Say about right there.
So that's about 9 foot.
The estimate settles around 9 feet, reinforcing his belief that whatever he saw was towering, powerful, and unlike anything he had expected to find in those woods. Exploring with Bear takes a dark turn deep inside an isolated forest where abandoned bunkers sit hidden beneath the night. What starts as a simple exploration slowly becomes unsettling as the woods fall eerily silent. Strange noises echo through the trees while shadows move just beyond the flashlight's reach. The closer the bunker gets, the stronger the feeling of being watched becomes. By the time the entrance finally appears, staying inside the truck feels far safer than stepping into the darkness below, as the bear dives deep into the dark wilderness, where silence feels alive. Each step seems watched, every sound heavier than the last. Suddenly, something shifts behind him, too close to ignore. He turns, but sees nothing in the endless black.
Man, it is foggy out here too. Whew. What is all that out there? Is this just gigantic? What's that say? Gigantic lily pads. Whew. My goodness.
A faint noise pulls him forward toward the trees. "What is that?" he whispers. Through the shadows, a bunker emerges, and from inside, something answers back once again tonight. He warns the others to stay alert, his voice tight as the darkness thickens around them. Then, something unnatural catches his eye. Stillness where nothing should be. A shape forms near the trees, almost human, almost real, until it isn't. In a blink, it disappears. He jerks forward, searching the void. "Where did it go?" he mutters, unsettled.
Yeah, so this is number 4. I can't remember how many's on this side, but I think it's quite a bit. Oh, did you guys hear that? Oh my goodness. Hold on. Hold on. Alright. So as you can see, Doug and Matt are way down there. I think he's flashing his flashlight this way. But yeah, they're down there.
The certainty hits him late. It wasn't imagination. Something had been there, watching from the edge of the forest, vanishing the moment it was noticed tonight. Something in the darkness doesn't feel alone anymore. One presence lingers far in the distance, while another suddenly seems terrifyingly close, as if it crossed the woods in seconds. The air grows heavier with every step, turning panic into pure dread. Then the sound of wasps breaks the silence, swarming somewhere nearby. Just beyond the trees, a faint glow appears in the darkness, weak, unnatural, and impossible to ignore. Whatever is waiting out there feels far from human. The deeper the journey goes, the more the forest begins to feel completely cut off from the world. After walking far longer than expected, the realization finally sinks in. There's no quick way back anymore. Every step around the abandoned bunker carries an eerie weight.
That was here, so we took a little break and fried up some burgers and stuff. And they were telling us that last night they were here also. And there was a bunch of footsteps. They was in one of these bunkers. And there's a bunch of footsteps going around inside. No, I'm going to keep doing it alone for a while. See what I can't find. That or here. Yeah, I'll go further that way maybe.
As if something unseen is quietly watching from the darkness. Even while setting up to spend the night truck camping nearby, the tension never fades. Then, without warning, a loud sound suddenly erupts from inside the bunker. No animals, no wind, just one terrifying noise echoing through the night. So what was waiting in there? As you watch this clip, have it on mind that a routine morning hunt in local woodlands can quickly escalate into a battle for survival.
August the 15th, 1974, 6 o'clock in the morning. I love squirrel hunting, so I went out in the woods. I was going to my favorite hickory tree. I got about halfway there, and this thing roars out at me, and like, roar.
On the YouTube channel Animal Planet, a segment from Finding Bigfoot features Ernie Turtleman Brown sharing a terrifying childhood encounter. On August 15, 1974, at 6 a.m. in the Kentucky woods, a 9-year-old Ernie went squirrel hunting. Suddenly, a massive creature roared at him. Ernie immediately dropped to the ground and fired his weapon toward the sound.
I'm gonna shoot ya! I am gonna shoot you! And it roared out again, 10 feet tall. You could see it moving. I mean, it's just like this, it's running after me, like it, making big leaps, and it was gaining on me.
The creature retaliated by aggressively ripping up tree saplings by their roots and throwing them at him. Ernie stood up, repeatedly threatened to shoot, and fired again after another deafening roar. He explains that the creature then rose to an incredible 10 feet tall, bounding and leaping rapidly to chase him down. Ernie managed to escape across a nearby fence line. Later, he returned to the scene to collect mysterious hair left on the wood splinters.
What to think? They say that it's been independently tested by 2 labs, and it's an unknown primate.
The team reviews the physical hair sample collected from the encounter. They note that independent laboratory testing by 2 separate facilities classified the specimen as an unidentified primate that has yet to be formally categorized by science, concluding the encounter with tangible, unexplainable evidence. This next footage, uploaded by Joe Moa, follows a vlogger as he launches a drone to film the surrounding woods, cabin, and campfire fort. While reviewing the live aerial feed, he spots a large, dark brown figure moving below. Realizing it is not a tree stump, he decides to fly the drone back to the cabin and head out on foot to investigate the exact location of the walking anomaly.
A walking figure, like, what is it? Wait, like, what is it? Like, I can't tell. I can't tell what it is. Like,
The vlogger gathers his friends to trek out into the field where the figure was spotted. He notes that it might be a bear or a deer, but admits he is scared as they approach the dense tree line. The group gets separated in the thick brush, and the host loses sight of his companions, leaving him to walk deeper into the woods, entirely alone.
Okay guys, we just saw something on the drone. I don't know what it was. It was like a brown figure, okay? So like, me and the guys here are gonna go check it out, hopefully. Hopefully, like, it might be a bear, might be like a deer. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna bring some. We're gonna just...
As the vlogger walks up a path, he suddenly catches sight of a massive, dark figure lurking ahead in the foliage. He panics as the bipedal creature turns and begins aggressively pursuing him. Screaming in terror, the host sprints backward as the creature chases him through the trees.
Something. What is that? Oh no, that's him. Ah! Is that him? No. No, stop. That's him. He's coming. He's coming. Ah!
After running a safe distance, the host stops to check his surroundings. Realizing he has successfully lost the pursuing entity, he frantically wraps up the video, completely shaken, and rushes off to locate his missing friends. On binge-worthy documentaries, The Wild Places of East Texas reveals stories that challenge even the most experienced outdoorsman. Jeff Stewart, a man who spent his life navigating the region's forests and bayous, grew up hearing elders whisper about a shadowy presence known locally as Crow Matan, a Cajun name once used to describe the mysterious boogeyman said to haunt the woods. For years, it sounded like nothing more than an old warning wrapped in folklore. But after 2 equally unsettling moments in the wilderness, Jeff began to suspect that the tale might have been rooted in something far more real.
When I grew up, it was always referred to as Crow Matan, which is a Cajun word that means boogeyman.
In rural East Texas, whispers of strange creatures in the woods have circulated for generations, rarely spoken of openly. But in 1986, during a camping trip along the remote Sabine River, Jeff Stewart's ordinary night with friends became an encounter that challenged everything he thought about the creature long dismissed as folklore.
A lot of people around here don't want to admit that they believe in the Sabine thing. because they don't want to get ridiculed. They don't want to get made fun of. They don't want to be belittled. But in secret, they believe.
After a night of fishing, the group cleaned their catch near an old hand pump well, leaving scraps on the ground. Usually scavengers like raccoons or hogs would take them, and checking later was routine. But as darkness fell, curiosity got the better of them. When someone suggested returning to the spot, the others hesitated, unwilling to walk into the dark woods, leaving one to go alone, expecting nothing more than a rustling animal.
I told my friends to come on, let's go over and check out the gut pile and see what's hitting the guts. And of course, nobody wanted to go.
As he approached the well, the flashlight revealed movement among the discarded fish remains. At first, it seemed like a raccoon or a wandering hog. But as he stepped closer with his rifle raised, the figure suddenly rose upright on two legs. Their eyes met, startlingly human and unnervingly aware, sending a chill through someone who had spent a lifetime hunting these woods. In that frozen moment, it became clear he was witnessing something beyond any tale or explanation he had ever known.
See that there was something eating at the guts. And I raised my rifle. And when I got probably about 20 yards, it stood up. It stood up on two legs. I was terrified. It was looking me dead in my eyes. It was very similar to human eyes. I've been hunting these woods ever since I was born. I've never seen anything like this.
The next morning, he finally got his friends to return to the well, only to find the fish guts gone and massive, human-like tracks in the dirt, wide enough for a size 14 foot. His friends dismissed it, but the encounter left him shaken. From that day, the Sabine creature remained a secret he carried alone, a chilling reminder that some legends in the woods are frighteningly real.
And on the ground right by the gut pile, there were tracks. And I wear a size 14 triple E. And with my shoe on, I could step in the footprint of a barefoot track.
Look at these footprints, seriously, guys. Here's one right here, too.
My friends still wouldn't believe it.
I'm on too, bro.
So at that moment, I decided not to tell another person. I kept my encounter with the Sabine thing a secret. I didn't tell a soul.
Countless nights along the river had exposed him to the usual sounds of the wild, but some screams were different, piercing, chilling, and unmistakably alive. Over time, he realized he came from the mysterious creature of the woods. After seeing it once and hearing it often, he knew the stories were true. It wasn't a legend, it was real, haunting the forest with a presence impossible to ignore.
There's been so many nights I've camped out down there and heard strange screams, and it will make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. The screams that I've heard in the past are definitely from the Sabine thing. I saw it. I heard it. It's real. I know it's real.
After witnessing the impossible and hearing the unexplainable in the East Texas woods, could the creature be more than just a story? Or is something truly watching from the shadows? Up next, we follow a hiker exploring off the marked trail, capturing a moment that has left many questioning what truly lurks in the forest. The hiker moves cautiously through the dense woods, phone in hand, every step crunching against fallen leaves. Sunlight barely filters through the thick canopy, and the air hangs heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth. He pauses, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. Out of the corner of his eye, a massive figure steps between the trees. At first, it looks like a bear, broad, dark, moving with heavy, deliberate strides. But as it draws closer, its posture and gait feel wrong, unnatural, unlike anything he has seen. The creature doesn't seem to notice him at all, moving through the forest with a strange, controlled confidence, as if the hiker and his camera are invisible. The footage has sparked intense debate. Was this just a bear, or could it be something far stranger hiding in the shadows? Hidden deep in the northern forests of America, a videographer captured something that immediately raises questions. The footage appears on the YouTube channel Bigfoot Encounters North America, known for rare cryptid sightings in remote regions. The forest sits in uneasy silence, the air thick, as if time itself has slowed to watch. Then, just beyond a cluster of trees, a towering shadow steps into view.
Okay, I've got a better angle, I think. You see that thing moving? Something's moving. Something is moving. Freak! You gotta be kidding me. Okay.
Standing at least 8 feet, its dark glossy fur catches the light. It pauses, aware of the camera, moving with deliberate, cautious intent. Moments later, it slips back into the shadows, disappearing as suddenly as it appeared. Earlier footage shows it wandering at a distance, unaware it was being recorded, lending credibility to the encounter. Every detail, the size, the presence, the realistic fur, the behavior, matches decades of Bigfoot reports. And yet, the forest keeps its secrets, leaving viewers to wonder, what else is out there, watching? This footage was uploaded on the YouTube channel Sasquatch Mafia, a channel known for uncovering the strangest and most remote mysteries of North America's forests. It was a crisp February day, the sun high, but filtered through thick gray clouds, casting shifting shadows over the dense evergreen canopy. Cold currents moved slowly through the forest, twisting like a ribbon of silver, while the tall trees whispered in the chilly wind. The team weren't Bigfoot hunters. They were simply documenting the wilderness when something unimaginable appeared. A massive, hulking figure stepped into the water, its dark, matted form glistening in the muted light. Each movement was deliberate, the river rippling and churning as if afraid to resist. By midday, the creature was fully in view. Its immense size, powerful posture, and eerie awareness far beyond anything anyone could expect. A haunting reminder that this forest hides secrets darker and more terrifying than we can imagine. As night fell like a black velvet sheet, a lone driver navigated the icy, snow-covered road. The fading sunlight had vanished, leaving only the pale glow of headlights cutting through the darkness. Suddenly, something appeared directly in front of the car, a towering, silent figure frozen against the snowy landscape. It didn't move, didn't flinch, as if it had stepped out of the shadows themselves. The driver's breath caught, heart pounding, facing a presence far larger and more menacing than anything imagined. Its long, muscular arms hung low, nearly grazing the icy ground, as its massive legs stood firm, like pillars of shadow. Could this massive, shadowy figure finally be Bigfoot, Dogman, Yeti, or some other legendary creature whispered about for generations? In the shadow of a long abandoned mine, a man ventured from his secluded cabin, phone in hand, documenting the forest's quiet pulse. He moved deliberately, pausing here and there, unaware that unseen eyes followed his every step. Hours later, the footage revealed what he never noticed. At the edge of the frame, a massive, dark figure emerged, its presence fleeting, yet undeniable. He had been tired, squinting at the screen outdoors after a long trek, zooming in almost absent-mindedly. And yet, the forest had recorded it all. Unedited, raw, and hauntingly real, the video hints at a presence both patient and watchful. It skirted the edges, lingering just beyond each, aware of the intruder in its domain. The encounter is a silent warning. Some parts of the wilderness are alive in ways we cannot see, and some secrets are never meant to be discovered. Small Town Monsters brings the chilling story of Suzanne Ferrick from Western Holmes County, Ohio. In the dead of night, after weeks trapped inside by a bone-freezing cold, she stepped into the darkness, Bigfoot activity had shadowed her land for years, growing more intense, more haunting, and that night she hoped to face it, if only for a fleeting moment. The channel is known for uncovering cryptids, folklore, and unexplained phenomena, blending careful research with stories that keep viewers on the edge of their seats.
I was in my house, kind of stuck in the house after a couple weeks because it was so cold, and I just had to get out. So at like 11:30 at night, I went outside, and it was 5 degrees and dropping, and I just decided for as long as I could stay out there, I was going to listen to some music, and of course I always had the recorder hanging because the Bigfoot activity had been so fierce for the past couple years before that.
Later that night, the quiet of the snow-covered field was shattered by a presence she could feel before she could see it. From the base of the power line, a massive figure emerged in the deep snow. It wasn't an animal she recognized, nothing that belonged in that forest. Slowly, it shifted, a deliberate, haunting motion that seemed to echo through the still night. Then, without warning, a deafening sound echoed from the hillside nearby, shattering the stillness. The snow, the darkness, the towering presence, it all seemed alive, watching, waiting.
And then all of a sudden I look over, and at the bottom of the power line, 100 feet from our house, was a Sasquatch, right like this, looking right at me. And there was no trees next to it or anything. The snow was, you know, probably a foot deep at that point, and it was just a complete outline of a Sasquatch, and it was doing this.
In that frozen moment, the world held its breath, and the terrifying reality of what lurked there became undeniable. A story told by Thomas Shea. One night, a worker at the train yard saw it, an enormous, large figure, step off a boxcar into the glowing yard. Every detail was visible, every movement deliberate. In that instant, the ordinary world vanished, and the impossible became real.
They don't want to be put on TV or nothing, but there was one. We have a train that comes through here. We got a train yard, like where they drop off boxes. And there's this one gentleman, he was working one night, and he said the train had just come in and dropped off some box cars and some cattle cars and stuff. They was empty. So he thought, he goes, he saw this figure come out. And he said, and it was all hairy. He goes, there was light there in this yard. He goes, I saw it clearly. It was hairy. It was at least 8 foot tall.
Ray Gardner shared a theory about the strange sightings that continue to puzzle the region. While not familiar with famous cases, he noted countless reports of creatures suddenly crossing roads or appearing in remote areas. Gardner believes these movements follow ancient patterns. In his view, these beings move almost instinctively, guided by generations of memory, haunting the same routes, unseen, yet ever present. It's as if the land itself remembers them, and they are simply following what has always been theirs. One witness refused to call it a Bigfoot, but he knew exactly what it wasn't. The sighting gripped him so strongly that he was determined to follow it. Then, in a shocking moment, he saw it cross the clearing, 2 massive legs covering the ground in deliberate steps, before vanishing into the shadows, leaving only a haunting question: what had he just seen? Drivers would round a dark, silent curve and freeze. There, in the middle of the road, lay a large figure, motionless under the faint glow of the asphalt. The air felt heavier, the night somehow darker, as if the ordinary world had vanished. Heat, instinct, or something far stranger. No one could be sure what it was doing there. Ray described how these creatures often follow the path of least resistance. They navigate with an almost uncanny awareness, blending into shadows while the world continues, unaware of their presence. And if they can glide through the world so silently, so deliberately, right beneath our very eyes, what other secrets might be lurking in the shadows, watching, waiting, and unseen? Alright, for this one, we're only looking at the moments that feel connected to cryptids. Just the frames that make you slow down a little and think, wait, what was that? This footage comes from the YouTube channel Encountering Wildlife, a page that goes through strange trail camera captures from remote places. The image we're focusing on shows a dark shape moving low through thick brush at night. Most people say it's probably just a bear, and that could be true. But the head looks darker than the body, and there's no clear snout or face shape. The proportions feel slightly off. It doesn't look relaxed. It almost looks careful. When you stare at it for a few seconds, it stops feeling simple and starts feeling strange.
It's pretty similar to a black bear. It looks like possibly a skinny black bear that's distorted possibly from the way that it's moving its head or its body, rapidly causing some sort of blurring effect. But what we can see is that it does have an odd look to it. Again, the consensus is that it's just a black bear. But it has that strange, almost humanoid feel to it, and that's why I included it in this video, because when you zoom in and look at the picture, I mean, it does have a strange feel to it. You know, we can see it does have the arms and legs kind of build of a black bear, and the face is the weird part because its head is completely blurred and you can't see much detail about it.
Now let's move to the next one. In a remote area just after midnight, something upright runs across the frame. It's thin with very narrow legs, moving fast enough to blur the details. The shape is clearly human-like, but the setting makes it unsettling. Miles from town, total darkness. It doesn't look confused or lost. It looks like it knows exactly where it's going.
But these from Robert Lowe take the cake. He said he's got pics of this person/creature on 2 separate cameras and swears that they are legit. He said these were taken on a property 12 miles from the nearest town. What do y'all make of it? Now, just by looking at the trail camera image, we can clearly see a humanoid figure, but it looks small, almost like a child or possibly just a short person. And they're running past the camera at a rapid speed, causing some significant motion blur, and we can't really make out a whole lot of detail. What we can see is that they have what appears to be their left arm outreach.
The third image is older and taken from a low camera angle. Something is already walking on 2 legs as it enters the frame. The stride looks steady and natural. The arms hang low, almost reaching the knees. The hands don't clearly look human. It doesn't feel like an animal standing up for a second. It feels comfortable moving that way.
So I have no idea where this picture came from, location, or even who originally posted it. But I had to include it because it shows something that no one can explain. A silhouette, an overexposed silhouette of something walking towards a trail camera that's kind of positioned lower to the ground. So we can only see kind of basically from the, stomach down.
The final series of images shows a dark figure near the trees. In the next frame, it's closer. The body appears covered in long hair, but the face looks smoother. You can see eyes, a nose, even a mouth. Almost human, but not quite. In the last frame, it walks past the camera and disappears from view.
Straight at the trail camera that is positioned next to the tree. Now, it's standing at a far enough distance, probably 20, 30, 40 feet, and we can't really make out a whole lot of detail. But in the second picture, it's much closer, and we can see that it kind of has its arms positioned kind of like this, where its hands are up by its chest, and you can see that it is clearly not a black bear. This is clearly not a bear of any kind. This is something much different. We can see that it has long, shaggy hair dangling past its arms, but its face is almost completely hairless. We can see 2 eyes, a nose, even a mouth, and it looks very human-like, but it's not human, clearly. And in the third image, we see that it gets much closer to the trail camera. This time we can see just its legs down, and it seems to be walking right past the camera, possibly right after investigating it, trying to figure out what it is.
Now imagine checking your own trail camera and seeing one of these. Would you delete it and move on? Or would you start watching your woods a little more carefully? When you hike alone in the woods, you may unknowingly step into a territory where you are no longer the apex predator. And when a wild predator locks its eyes on you, the quiet trail instantly transforms into a fight for survival.
This is really freaky.
On the YouTube channel Sophia Zhang, a hiker captures a terrifying close encounter while walking down a trail. In the distance, a mountain lion is spotted crouching low in the dry grass. The hiker realizes the predator is actively moving forward, towards his direction. The camera trembles slightly as the hiker remarks on how freaky the situation is, while keeping the lens focused on the approaching animal.
Hey, Mr. Mountain Lion. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I am much bigger than you. I'm way bigger than you. Go! Where are you going?
As the mountain lion gets closer, the hiker tries to de-escalate the tension by talking out loud at it, trying to assert dominance. But none of that seems to have an effect on the predator. The large cat pauses temporarily and looks around, but it refuses to leave the area, keeping its gaze entirely fixed on the hiker.
This is unbelievable. There's a mountain lion right here. Right in front of me. Stay back. Stay there. I'm not afraid of you.
The mountain lion starts walking down the path, completely staring the hiker down from just feet away. The hiker remains remarkably calm but firm, repeatedly demanding the cat stop moving. The predator paces slowly along the edge of the path, sizing up the hiker before the tense standoff finally ends without an attack. The sudden appearance of a towering wild creature always comes with a sense of panic. This eerie footage, uploaded by the YouTube channel Slapped Ham, features a man named David out on a routine woodland walk. Known for capturing local wildlife on camera, he navigated the forest, but nothing prepared him for what he was about to encounter. He is standing in the woods, with tall tress around. The environment is completely quiet as he scans the trees, looking for signs of movement. Suddenly, the camera pans to the left and locks onto an alarming sight deeper in the woods. Standing completely still among the thin pine trunks is a massive, entirely black figure. The entity stands perfectly upright on two legs and appears to be heavily built, covered from head to toe in dark fur or hair. It makes no sound or movement. It's simply looming in the shadows as David keeps the camera focused on it from a distance. The eerie standoff ends as the short clip cuts away, leaving the true identity of the figure a complete mystery. Going out into the woods alone is something millions of people do every year without a second thought. But the wilderness is deadly, and sometimes you may cross paths with something that reminds you exactly why you shouldn't be there.
I was shaking so bad. I mean, my knees were knocking in my teeth, and I was froze. The creature was hairy, black, shiny hair. But I'm pretty sure it was a Bigfoot. And so he's standing behind a tree, looking at me about 15 yards. And I'm looking at him, and it was terrible. He was growling. He got one time he got so mad at me, he started beating the tree with the sides of his fist. Boom, 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 you know. You can even have the deer stand.
In this episode from the Travel Channel, a veteran hunter named Mark finds himself in a terrifying standoff deep in the forest. To Mike, these woods were familiar, and he has hunted in it for decades. But on this particular day, while out in his deer stand, he encounters something that made his blood run cold. Just 15 yards away, a massive, hairy black creature is standing behind a tree, staring directly at him. The hunter is frozen in fear, his knees shaking as the creature begins to growl aggressively.
He was growling real bad, you know what I mean?
Stay back there! Stay back!
He showed me his teeth. They were just big and flat. What I'm gonna do is look through my scope. He had like a human face.
The situation escalates when the angry entity starts violently beating the side of the tree with its fists. The hunter looks through his rifle scope and locks eyes with the beast. He describes its face as strangely human, but its eyes look completely satanic. Terrified, he lines up his crosshairs between its eyes, but before he can pull the trigger, the creature lets out a roar like a lion.
Well, he looked over at it, and he'd come back and looked at me, and he whistled back. Kind of did a grin.
Who's there? Who's there?
And that's when I heard the other one coming. He was coming.
Stay back! Stop!
You know, something told me, you better go, or you're gonna die. When I heard that other creature coming, you could tell whatever it was heavy because of the way it was cracking the brush coming, and it was coming in such a way, it was a hostile, mean way. You could tell it was trying to get there. And I just said, you know, these things they're everywhere.
Suddenly, a loud steam engine-like whistle echoes from 100 yards away, and a second heavy creature begins crashing through the brush toward them. Realizing he is about to be completely overrun, the hunter abandons his stand and takes off running down an old logging road.
You know, where was he at? He was running parallel with me, but he was running through trees. I'm running down old logging road, it's pretty clean, but he was running through trees and he was just bulldozing them. Got those big thorn trees, and they got thorns on them like that. They'll cut you, you touch, you get cut bad. And but he was running through that stuff. I mean, it was like he was mowing it down. I mean, and then, you know, I could hear him. Yeah, these are some very smart, intelligent creatures. I think what he was trying to do, get ahead of me and cut me off.
Please! No, please!
Panic sets in, making his legs feel heavy as he desperately tries to reach his truck. The first creature quickly pursues him, running parallel through the dense trees just 50 feet to his left. It easily bulldozes through the thick trees, attempting to cut him off before he can reach safety. Believing he would be attacked the moment he turned his back to unlock his truck, the hunter scrambles to escape, completely terrified by this creature that shows absolutely no fear of his rifle. These 9 encounters pull us into the edge of the unknown, where silence feels alive and shadows may not be empty. From strange figures to unexplained sounds, each story leaves more questions than answers. Whether myth or reality, the mystery still stands in the wild. If something is out there, it's still watching. Stay curious, and let's keep exploring the unknown.